Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tone's Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video and I hope you're all doing well. Now, because Paul is out on tour with his Got Back tour, I thought it would be quite topical to do a ranking video of his live albums because there's been quite a few. And I had a look on YouTube to see whether this topic had been absolutely done to death. And you know what? I couldn't find a single video of anyone doing a ranking of his live albums. Plenty out there doing rankings of his studio albums, but no one touching his live albums. And I found that a bit strange. But maybe there's a good reason for that. Maybe no one's interested at all. But if this does appeal to a wider audience, congratulations. You're probably watching the first ever YouTube video of someone ranking Paul McCartney's live albums. Maybe. Now, before we get into the ranking video, I just wanted to say a big hello to all the new subscribers. We've had quite a lot of new subscribers in the last week or so. So thank you very much for subscribing to my channel and welcome. Now, I also wanted to say a big hello to all you people out there that have been on the channel for a while and support it brilliantly by leaving comments on virtually every video. And I really appreciate that too as well. So I'm going to say hello to MBT, Beatle Pete, hi Pete, Sharon Evans, hi Sharon, Peter Lemuria. Now I just wanted to point you to Peter's post on the second of my Meeting Paul McCartney videos, because he's left a really long account of his meetings with Paul McCartney and it's a really great read, so go and have a read of that and give it some love. I'm going to say hi to Ralph929, Fast Eddie Miles, hi Eddie, Armin Zink, Beatle Dave and Beatle Brad. They've both got their own channels where they show you items from their huge collections, both worth checking out, so go and give them a little look. Speechless Bob, Ethel the Frog, Sprout Standing and Rudolph Guanacci. Hi everyone, and thank you so much for being part of my channel and for your great support and contributions. So the live album is a much maligned beast. For a lot of bands, it's a contract fulfilling obligation at the end of their contract, but there has been a lot of really great live albums over the years, and some of them are by Paul McCartney. The other thing that I was thinking about was whether this list is now complete. I don't think we're going to get any more new live albums from Paul McCartney, and I don't mean this in a mean-spirited way, but when you take into consideration how his voice is now, we probably won't get any more live albums. We might get some retrospective live albums, like for example, if we ever get the Back to the Egg archive collection, it's quite likely that we might get a disc of live material from the 1979 UK tour. We know that at least a couple of the gigs were recorded, and in fact some of the material from the Glasgow gig from that tour has already come out. So fingers crossed we may get a retrospective live album in the future from Paul. So every one of these albums has got something to recommend it, and by the same token probably every one of them has got its little flaws as well, and that's kind of how we come up with the rankings. Now something has to come in 8th position, and in 8th position for me is this album from 1991, the MTV Unplugged, the official bootleg. Now the reason why I've put this in 8th position is because out of the 17 tracks that are on this album, 7 of them are covers, and I just don't get that at all, because when you're Paul McCartney and you've written like about a squillion songs, you don't really need to do covers live, I don't think. You can do them when you're rehearsing or jamming in the studio or whatever, but you don't need to put them out on a live album. And I think when I tell you about the songs that could have been on this album, you'll see where I'm coming from, I think. So just talk about the lineup for this album. It was pretty much the band that went out on tour on the 89 to 90 Flowers in the Dirt World Tour. The only difference being that Blair Cunningham has now replaced Chris Whitten on drums. Chris left to join Dire Straits, so it was Paul and Linda, Hamish Stewart, Robbie McIntosh and Wicks, and obviously Blair Cunningham. So what is on this album that is great? Okay, well, historically we've got I Lost My Little Girl, which is the first song that Paul ever wrote when he was 14. It's not a great song musically, but it is a great song historically. There were 3 tracks from McCartney, Every Night, That Would Be Something, the first time that had been played live, and Sing Along Junk. There are a few Beatles songs that were being played live for the first time, Here, There and Everywhere, She's a Woman, which is a great acoustic version, And I Love Her, a lovely version of And I Love Her, slowed right down, very chilled, very relaxed, and just a really great version. I really enjoy that track. It was also a couple of songs that he had done live before, I've Just Seen a Face and Blackbird. One cover that I do think really deserved its place on this album was the cover of the Bill Withers song Ain't No Sunshine, where Paul is playing drums and vocals are handled by Hamish Stewart. That is a really lovely version of this song. Now, I've got a bootleg of this official bootleg, so it's an unofficial bootleg of the official bootleg, and there were 4 other songs that they performed on the night weren't included in the album. That was Things We Said Today, Matchbox, Mean Woman Blues and Midnight Special. I think a couple of those songs came out on the Biker Like an Icon CD singles. Now, also, there were songs that were rehearsed for this show that they decided for one reason or another not to play, and that's a real shame, and you'll see where I'm coming from when I read out this list. Mother Nature's Son, Heart of the Country, Figure of Eight. A Figure of Eight acoustically, that would have been really good to listen to. I would have really liked to have heard that. Now, also, She's My Baby from Wings at the Speed of Sound. A real deep cut that Paul's pulled out of his back pocket from nowhere, really. Never returned to it, but would have been perfect for this sort of acoustic format. It's a real shame. And also Mrs. Vanderbilt as well, they also rehearsed that and decided not to do it. So if you take those 5 songs plus Things We Said Today, replace the cover versions with those songs, and you have got an absolutely tip-top live acoustic album that would have really been great. So a missed opportunity, I think, but as it is, in 8th position I'm going with the MTV Unplugged official bootleg. A little fun fact about the Unplugged album is that when Paul came to do this show, it had probably been going about a year, the Unplugged series, but all the bands that had preceded Paul had not truly stuck to the Unplugged rules, because although they played all their songs acoustically, they had the guitars plugged into amps, so what they were effectively doing is playing semi-acoustic guitar, which was cheating, really. But Paul and his band, when they did their set, they didn't plug any guitars into amps. What they did was they set up microphones by the guitar and by the piano and by the drums to make it a truly authentic Unplugged album. So my pick at number 7 in my ranking is this album from 1993, Paul Is Live. Now, this is the live album from the 1993 New World Tour that Paul did in support of his album Off the Ground. Now, we were quite surprised to get a live album from this tour, seeing as that in 1990 we'd already had Trippin' the Live Fantastic from the 89-90 tour, and then in 1991 we had the Unplugged album, and so that pretty much meant that we'd had 3 live albums in 4 years, which is absolutely ridiculous and totally unheard of. Now, the great thing about this album is that he was promoting the Off the Ground album, and therefore we've got a live album with 5 tracks from the Off the Ground album which don't appear on any other live album. The main problem with this album is that we get 5 tracks from the Off the Ground album. Now, I don't mean that, I'm not saying that for the sake of saying it, but I think you understand what I mean is that the Off the Ground wasn't one of Paul's strongest albums, not by a long chalk. So that kind of brings the standard of the album down. But on the other hand, from a historical point, we've got tracks from Off the Ground, which is great. So the tracks that we got from Off the Ground on this album were Looking for Changes, which is great, Peace in the Neighbourhood, which isn't, Biker Like an Icon, which I personally really love that track. You know, I really like story songs, and it's a little bit of a guilty pleasure, and I know lots of fans hate Biker Like an Icon, but I absolutely love it. We also got Hope of Deliverance, which is a great song, and Come On People, which to me is a bit of a poor man's Hey Jude. I don't think it really ever worked. So those were the tracks that we did get. One anomaly here is that on the tour, Paul did the track Off the Ground, the title track from the album Off the Ground, pretty much every gig on the tour, but yet it doesn't appear on this album, and I don't know why. I don't know what the reason for that is. It seems a little strange. Now, going back to the fact that we had Tripping the Live Fantastic and Unplugged just recently, to Paul's credit, we only get one song from Tripping the Live Fantastic that is on Paul Is Live, and that is Live and Let Die. Conversely, when you think about the thing about giving us stuff that we haven't already had, there are 3 tracks that were on Unplugged, Here, There and Everywhere, We Can Work It Out and Good Rockin' Tonight, that do appear on Paul Is Live, albeit in a slightly more robust way, but still the arrangement is pretty much the same. Stranger still that I Lost My Little Girl and Ain't No Sunshine were also performed extensively on the tour, and they've been left out. So there doesn't seem to be any method in the madness as to which songs that are going to get repeated on the album, which ones are not. It just seems to be a little bit of a mess. Now, we do get quite a lot of Beatles songs on this album, but more so, we get quite a lot of Beatles songs that have never been played live before. So, Drive My Car makes its first appearance, as does All My Loving. Michelle is also on this album for the first time. We get Magical Mystery Tour played live for the first time, Paperback Writer, Penny Lane, and a version of Kansas City, which was recorded in Kansas City. We also get a few songs making a return. Lady Madonna is back, Let Me Roll It is back, and doesn't seem to have ever left the set since. And also My Love is back in the set and sounds absolutely fantastic on this album. Now, one other thing I thought I'd mention is that this is the last live album that Linda appears on, and her contribution vocally is very subdued. You don't hear as much of her as you do on other live albums. Now, I went to a couple of shows on this tour, and I can assure you that all these gigs, the gigs on that I saw on this tour, were all absolutely brilliant, and Paul was in fantastic voice. And I didn't really notice so much that Linda wasn't contributing as much vocally at the time, but listening to this album, she certainly is very much in the background vocally. Few oddities on this album, just like Tripping the Live Fantastic. Paul included some stuff from the sound check. We get some bizarre stuff. We get a song called Welcome to the Sound Check, which is just the sound of crickets buzzing around and a helicopter sort of going overhead, and we get a couple of improvised tracks, Welcome to Benidorm and A Fine Day. The second of those is a 6-minute improvised workout. We also get a very lackluster version of I Want to Be Your Man, which isn't a patch on the With the Beatles version. Now, the album ends with all these songs from the soundcheck, which is a little bit weird. They did the soundcheck thing on Tripping the Life Fantastic, but they kind of interspersed them with the rest of the set, so that they kind of fitted with the rest of the set, and they also overdubbed audience clapping and stuff at the end of the song, so they sounded as if they were part of the live album. These have kind of been bunged on at the end, and they don't really add anything to the album, if I'm absolutely honest. There's even a little caveat on the sleeve that says tracks 9 and 11 side 4, which is the Hotel, Benidorm and A Fine Day, were improvised at the soundcheck and therefore may not be suitable for people of a critical persuasion. I think they mean us. But all in all, there's a lot to enjoy on the album. There's the fact that we've got the off the ground tracks. We've got lots of new Beatles songs that haven't been played live before, and the band and Paul are in really good shape. But this album is only number 7 on my list, Paul is Live. So while discussing these two albums, I've noticed that I've obviously given a lot of information about the tour and the band lineups and the evolution of the set list. I mean, I find the evolution of the set list from tour to tour to tour really interesting, but the rest of you might be falling asleep. I noticed from the clock I've already been speaking for 16 minutes and we've only covered 2 albums. So if you would prefer if there was less chat about the background of the albums and the set list and all that sort of stuff, and I just went bang, 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 here's the rankings, and didn't say much about the albums, then do tell me about that down in the comments. I want to give you what you want, and as you know, I read all your comments and I answer everything. So also do tell me what you think about these 2 albums. Try and hold off giving me your full ranking of all Paul's live albums until we do the last video, and we can all talk about it together. Keeps the suspense going, you see. So we've still got 6 albums left to rank, and hopefully we'll do at least 3 in the next video, so there will only be 3 parts to this series. If you've been wondering why the volume on this video has been fluctuating up and down and up and down, it's because I've got a new mic and I haven't really worked out yet what the correct setting should be. So I've kind of been using this video as a test, and hopefully when I play it back I will know what was the correct setting, so it shouldn't happen in the future. But I apologise if I made you jump out your skin when it went really loud, so I apologise for that. Okay, so if you're seeing this channel for the first time and you like what you see, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing, giving the video a like, hit the notification bell, and you won't miss a thing. That would be absolutely marvellous. You can also subscribe by hitting the button down there somewhere, or the little circle that has the channel logo in at the end. So thanks very much for watching. The second part of this video will be here in a couple of days, I promise, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.